Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like me, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. So we are continuing with our mini-series on stimulation for ecstatic love, and this will be part 20. In this lecture, I'd like to discuss the lotus feet of the Lord, and how they act as stimuli for awakening our love for Him. I'd like to begin with a very beautiful verse glorifying Lord Krishna's lotus feet from the Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam 11.6.7. Herein the demigods are speaking. Our dear Lord, advanced mystic yogis, striving for liberation from the severe bondage of material work, meditate with great devotion upon your lotus feet within their hearts. Dedicating our intelligence, senses, vital air, mind, and power of speech to your lordship, we demigods bow down to your lotus feet. Such a nice verse. So in this verse, the devatas are praising Krishna Dwarka. And the very first thing they do is to glorify his lotus feet. Now generally, if you want to flatter someone, you don't praise their feet. But Krishna's feet are not ordinary. As I often say, they're extraordinary. Everything about Krishna is extraordinary. Thus, throughout our scriptures, the glories of Krishna's feet, you could say their beauty, their fragrance, even their flavor, are glorified again and again by great devotees. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described that when the four Kumaras met Lord Krishna at the gates of Vaikuntha, they had darshan of his lotus feet. And that darshan had an overwhelming effect on them. Chapter 15, verse 43 of the third canto says, and we'll quote here, when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So the Lord's lotus feet are special. I was thinking that so special that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, spends much of her time massaging Krishna's lotus feet. In fact, those lotus feet are so full of nectar that even Krishna himself is fascinated with his own lotus feet. We've all seen that famous painting of baby Krishna floating on it's a banyan tree leaf, sucking his big toe. Now the acharyas, they comment on that. They explain that this is because Krishna is wondering what it is about his feet that makes them so attractive to his devotees. So those soft lotus feet are all attractive, like everything about Krishna. So soft that the Brajabasis, the people of Vrindavan, become very concerned. What will happen to Krishna when he walks barefoot through the Vrindavan forest and the small pebbles hurt his feet? And the gopis, Krishna's greatest lovers, are so much in anxiety that they worry when they place Krishna's lotus feet upon their chests, those chests may be too hard because Krishna's lotus feet are so soft. And why are Krishna's feet so often referred to as lotus feet? Well, again, because they're soft like lotus flowers, they're beautiful like lotus flowers, and they're a pink color. Many of them, lotuses are pink, so they're pink in color, is lotus feet, like lotus flowers. Even Krishna's toenails are compared to the petals of a lotus flower. In this regard, very famous verse coming up here, in this regard, Queen Kunti Devi says in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:8-22, Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Panka Jangraye. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Queen Kunti. Now, I was thinking that a devotee might lament that those divine lotus feet are only available at the gates of Vaikuntha, because we heard the pastime there, summary of the pastime of the four Kumaras having darshan of the Lord's lotus feet at the gates of Vaikuntha. But no, in discussing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, our acharyas say that the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are compared to Krishna's lotus feet. So you could attain them in that way. Of course, another way we have access to the Lord's lotus feet is when we bow down to his deity form. By bowing down, those lotus feet come closer. By bowing down, we get darshan. We can see the deity's lotus feet. Thus, bowing down to the Lord is actually so important. Therefore, Krishna stresses in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 14, Satatam kirtayanto mam, yatantascha drida vrataha, namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upashate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. This bowing down to the lotus feet of the Lord has been going on since time immemorial. I was reading the other night, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that when a number of Brahmas, Lord Brahmas from different universes, entered Krishna's room in Dwarka, what was the first thing they did? They all offered him obeisances. They bowed down to his lotus feet. And when all their millions of crowns touched the ground, it created, it's described, a tumultuous crashing sound. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:221 confirms, quote, Lord Sri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, Lord Brahma, who offer him the paraphernalia of worshipping by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we'll get into more of a Vrindavan mood here. Now besides the four Kumaras, there's another example of how the lotus feet of Krishna act as stimuli for a devotee to remember the Lord in a mood of pure devotion. And that example is Akrura. Akrura. When he was making the journey from Mathura to Vrindavan to bring Krishna and Balaram back to Mathura for the wrestling match. I found in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:38-17, Akrura says, Apyan Gurimule Patitasya Me Vibhu. When I have fallen at his feet, the Almighty Lord will place his lotus hand upon my head. For those who seek shelter in him, because they are greatly disturbed by the powerful serpent of time, that hand removes all fear. So therein, Akrura refers to the lotus hand of Krishna. I was reading the other day that the lotus flower found in Vrindavan's Manas Sarovara lake, it's called Shogandika, or the white water lotus. That lotus has a particularly fragrant scent. And Shastras say that Lord Krishna's lotus hand acquired the fragrance of that particular flower. How so? By coming in contact with the beautiful faces of the gopis. And touch their faces. That's so beautiful. So this happened actually during a Rasa Leela dance, and which is described in the 33rd chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, knowing the potency of Krishna's lotus-like hand, Akrura was hankering for the Lord to put his hand on his head. This is how he was thinking. So Krishna conscious on the way to Vrindavan. Now, as Akrura got closer to Vrindavan, he meditated on what he would do upon arrival. He was thinking as follows, because I studied that chapter for this class. I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Their feet are meditated upon by great mystic yogis, striving for self-realization. I will also offer obeisances to the Lord's cowherd boyfriends and to all the residents of Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. So the Bhagavatam says at that point that Akrura was confident that Krishna would know his heart. You know, he's thinking like this, he's actually revealing his heart. Because Krishna's in his heart, Krishna knows his heart. So Srimad Bhagavatam describes Akrura as thinking as follows. The infallible Lord will not consider me an enemy, even though Kamsa has sent me here as his messenger. After all, the omniscient Lord perfectly knows the hearts of everyone. So there you go. And I was thinking that, when I was reading that Srila Prabhupada seemed to have this ability as well, to know the hearts of everyone. Many Prabhupada disciples will tell you that when Prabhupada looked at them, they sensed that he was looking straight into their hearts and that he knew everything about them. Now, Akrura reached Vrindavan at sunset. And the first thing he saw were Krishna's footprints, because Krishna wanders everywhere throughout Vrindavan. And they were everywhere actually. Because when the gopis perform their daily sweeping in Vrindavan, whenever they come across Krishna's footprints in the dust, they don't disturb them. They're sweeping, the groves. When they see Krishna's footprints, that's stimuli for them. They don't touch them. In the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 16, 18, we learn that even the animals in Vrindavan honor Krishna's footprints. Out of love for Krishna, they preserve his lotus footprints by carefully sidestepping them as they move about the land of Braj. They sidestep them. That's described in the Bhagavatam. In fact, all the residents of Vrindavan respect and adore Krishna's footprints. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:21-10 says, Vrindavanam Sakhi Bhuvo Vitanoti Kritim Yadhevaki Sutta Parambuja Labda Lakshmi. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Devaki. The peacocks dance madly when they hear Govinda's flute, and when other creatures see them from the hilltops, they all become stunned. Now, Srila Sanatana Goswami has written that because in Vrindavan Krishna always goes barefoot, the land is covered by his footprints, which makes Vrindavan more glorious than Vaikuntha, where Lord Vishnu simply wears slippers. So upon finally seeing Krishna's footprints, Akrura set an example for us all. He exclaimed, "Ah, this is the dust from my master's feet." And he rolled, and he rolled, and he rolled in that dust. Now, Srila Prabhupada has given his instructions on this matter, I saw the other day, in Krishna book, chapter 38. He writes, it's so important for us, this instruction. If you're planning a trip to Vrindavan soon, listen very carefully. He writes, as soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in a celebrated song, Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shuddha Habimam. When my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I shall be able to visit Vrindavan. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this pastime of Akrura shows us the proper mood and actions to be taken when we come to our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Or not only when we come, but when we're here. We can do Vrindavan Parikrama, we can do Govardhan Parikrama, we can take the opportunity to roll in the dust because Lord Krishna's lotus feet have touched that dust. For those who have the eyes to see, meaning spiritual eyes, they can see Krishna's footprints everywhere in Vrindavan. But with material vision, we can't see those lotus feet everywhere. However, the Lord is so kind that even without spiritual vision, we can see some of those footprints even today in Vrindavan. Some of them. For example, halfway up Nandishwara Hill, there's a flat rock upon which Krishna sat 5,000 years ago. We were out there the other day. The Acharyas describe that at that time, Krishna was, as they put it, Krishna was enthralled by his own spiritual potency in the form of Braja's forests, lakes, rivers, hills, mountains, and many creatures. They say the blackest Yamuna reminded him of Sri Radha's long braid, the blooming flowers of her enchanting smile, and the playful birds of her restless, magnetic eyes. Well, thinking in this way, actually, Krishna could not contain his ecstasy. It's written. And as a result, his body became so hot that it melted the stone he was sitting on, leaving an imprint of his lotus feet for all of us to see. A stone imprint. Those we can see. The imprint of Krishna's lotus feet, his lotus feet, Charana, upon this hill, Pahadi, has made that place famous as Charana Pahadi. You can go there, Charana Pahadi. Actually, it's a name shared with other hills in Braj, upon which Krishna has left his footprints. Actually, there's 5 places in Vrindavan, all called Charana Pahadi. And they all have the Lord's footprints in stone. They are as follows. You can search them out when you come here. Nandagram, Chota Bhaitana, Govardhan, and in Kamyavan. In Kamyavan, one set of footprints are at Chandrasena Parvata, and one below Chandrasena Parvata. 2 sets of footprints. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami, our dear Sri Rupa Goswami, emphasizes the importance and the benefit of worshipping Krishna's lotus feet in 2 verses of his Padyavali, one of our favorite books. He writes, O Madhusudan, a wise person nullifies any sins he may have done by serving your lotus feet within his heart. But one who rejects your service gets sinful reactions, even though he may not have done any sinful deed. Not by wearing saffron cloth, nor by restricting food and other sense activities, nor by living in the forest, nor by discussing philosophy, nor by observing a vow of silence, but only by even the slightest beginning of devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, who enjoys pastimes on Jamuna's wide banks, can one curtail lust, the influence of Cupid, Kamadev. Wow. By worshipping the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, one can curtail lust. Thank you, Sri Rupa Goswami. Now, one who is extremely fortunate may come across both Radha and Krishna's footprints at Ratnavedi. Ratnavedi means the jeweled altar, which is actually the small bridge that divides Radhakund and Shyamakund. I think most of you have been to Radhakund and Shyamakund. You know, there's a division there. It's like a little bridge going over. It's called the Sangam. It's the meeting place of Radhakund and Shyamakund. And on either side are the groves of Chitragopi and Shananda Gopa, just for your information, next time you walk across that bridge. On one side is the grove of Chitragopi, and the other side is the grove of Sananda Gopa. Now, footprints of Radha and Krishna mark the place where Radha and Shyamasundar once stood, marveling at the beauty of their lakes there. They stood marveling at the beautiful lakes, their lakes there, Radhakund and Shyamakund. Now, in Krishna Bhavanamrita, 1421, we hear Krishna say to Sri Radha, at that spot, as they were standing there, he said to her, "My beloved, in many ways, the beauty of your lake reminds me of your own magnificence. The blooming lotus flowers are like the ever-blooming lotus of your face. The young fish darting here and there are like your restless eyes. The rolling foam-topped waves like the sweetness rippling from your smile. And those swarms of honeybees like your swaying braid. The sunlight reflected on the surface of your lake is like your golden complexion. O Radha, in these and many other ways, this lake brings you to mind. Thus, the blessed sight brings pleasure to my heart." That blessed sight brings pleasure to Krishna's heart. So where these footprints are today is where Krishna held Radha's hand when he spoke those lovely words. Now the Acharyas say that the divine couple's footprints, seen together, are so potent that just to hear about them gives one a drop of the same bliss the gopis tasted as they tracked such footprints during the night of the Sharadiya Rasa dance. They were tracking those footprints. How so? Well, on that occasion, when Krishna disappeared from the gopis' midst, they began searching for him. And at first, you remember they were asking the trees and the bushes and the different animals, where is Krishna? Until in a corner of the forest, they noticed imprinted in the dust a flag, a lotus, and a barley corn. And recognized these as some of the symbols of Krishna's lotus feet. They followed them. But later, when they saw Srimati Radharani's footprints intermixed with Krishna's footprints, they could tell that Radha and Krishna were together. And from the way there were impressions of their footprints in the dust, the gopis could discern where Krishna laid his arm on Radha's shoulder, where he picked her up, and where he gathered forest flowers to decorate her hair. So sweet. So following those footprints further led the gopis into the, you could say, the heart of the forest, where Krishna had abandoned Sri Radha, leaving her bewildered and crying in separation. That's a whole pastime we can tell another time. And when the gopis witnessed Sri Radha's profound expressions of love and separation, they actually felt a little embarrassed by what they felt were their own insignificant affections. And the Acharyas say this further amplified their own attachments to Krishna. beautiful use of words, amplified their own attachments to Krishna by witnessing the divine love that Radha had for Krishna. Now the Acharyas say that the sight of Krishna's footprints stimulates ecstatic love, as does hearing narrations of his uncommon pastimes, seeing his sweetly smiling face, or hearing his enchanting flute song. Once the gopis explained to Uddhava that the sight of Krishna's footprints decorated with divine symbols guarantees pure devotees the ability to always remain absorbed in thoughts of him. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-50, we hear that after receiving letters from Krishna in Mathura, the gopis said to Uddhava, Puna puna smarayanti nanda gopa shrutam bhata shri nike tais tat padai kahir vishmartum naiva shaknumo. Quote, all these remind us constantly of Nanda Maharaja's son. Indeed, because we see Krishna's footprints, which are marked with divine symbols, we can never forget him. Now, those symbols or those marks on the soles of the divine couple's lotus feet are very unique. It is said that devotees meditate on them in the same way that they meditate on Radha and Krishna's garments, ornaments, or limbs. The marks on Radha and Krishna's lotus feet are actually mercifully described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his book, Sri Rupa Chintamani. Therein he writes that Krishna's feet are decorated with 19 wonderful symbols. On his left foot is a fish, a half moon, a triangle, 4 water pots, a calf's hoof print, Cupid's bow, 2 concentric circles, and a conch shell. And on his right foot are 11 marks, an octagon, 4 swastikas, 4 rose apples, a thunderbolt, a banner, an elephant goad, a lotus, a vertical line, an umbrella, a disc, and a barley corn. Hare Krishna. Srimati Radharani has 19 symbols on her feet. On her left foot is a half moon, a creeper, a bracelet, a flower, a flag, an elephant goad, a lotus flower, a vertical line, an umbrella, a disc, and a barley corn. On her right foot is a fish, a spear, a chariot, a club, an earring, a sacrificial altar, a mountain, and a conch shell. Now the symbols on Sri Radha's feet, like those of Krishna, they form attractive patterns, actually. So these marks allow Radha and Krishna and their companions to distinguish the divine couple's footprints from others on the paths of Braja, helping the gopis to find them, the divine couple, wherever they are. Actually, once a small group of gopis were on their way to the Jamuna, when they saw the impressions of an elephant goad, flag, and a thunderbolt in the sand, and they at once knew that Krishna was nearby. Another time, I was reading, the Brajabasis could tell by the presence of terrible omens that Krishna must be in danger somewhere, so they followed his footprints to the Jamuna and found him struggling in Kaliya's coils. They were able to find out where he was by his footprints. Now, of course, Srimati Radharani's footprints are no less potent than Krishna's, because, as Krishna himself admits, the pleasure she tastes while in his company is 10 million times greater than his own. There's a beautiful verse like that. Nitya premasvada mora haya ye halada tata hate koti guna radha pramasvada This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Whatever pleasure I get from tasting my love for Srimati Radharani, she tastes 10 million times more than me by her love. She tastes 10 million times more than me by her love. So it's confirmed. So Prabhus, these are just a few of the many pastimes where Krishna's lotus feet play an important role in stimulating his devotees' love for him and his divine consort, Srimati Radharani. So today I would like to conclude with Srila Prabhupada's very beautiful words from a purport he gives in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11-26, very pertinent. Quote, "The pure devotees are always hankering after the lotus feet of the Lord, which have a kind of honey that is transcendentally relished by the devotees. They are like the bees, who are always after the honey." Sri Rupa Goswami, the great devotee acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, has sung a song about this lotus honey, comparing himself to the bee. "O my Lord Krishna, I beg to offer my prayers unto you. My mind is like the bee, and it is after some honey. Therefore, kindly therefore, give my bee-like mind a place at your lotus feet, which are the resources for all transcendental honey. I know that even big demigods like Brahma do not see the rays of the nails of your lotus feet, even though they are engaged in deep meditation for years together. Still, O infallible one, my ambition is such, for you are very merciful to your surrendered devotees. O Madhava, I know also that I have no genuine devotion for the service of your lotus feet, but because your lordship is inconceivably powerful, you can do what is impossible to be done. Your lotus feet deride even the nectar of the heavenly kingdom, and therefore I am very much attracted by them. O Supreme Eternal, please, therefore, let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, so that eternally I may be able to relish the taste of your transcendental service." Thank you, Srila Rupa Goswami. Actually, about Rupa Goswami, it is written, Shri Rupasya Padasvada, Shri Rupasya Padaya Iha, Bhavat Yeva Sada Tasmat, Shri Rupasya Padam Shraye. In this world, the constant sweet experience of Shri Rupa Pada, the feet of the beautiful-looking Krishna, certainly happens through Shri Rupa Pada, the wonderful poetry of Rupa Goswami. Therefore, I take shelter of Shri Rupa Pada, the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. That prayer was composed by Hari Prasad Das on March 10th, 2023. Prabhu, thank you so much. It's really been nectar of speaking about the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani. And of course, we always have the shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. See you next Friday. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtanya ki, back home, back to Godhead ki, Nitai Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ever-ongoing series on the glories of our most beloved Shri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, we're continuing with our mini-series, Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 21. In this mini-series, we've covered a number of items mentioned in chapter 26 of Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, which can stimulate our love for Krishna. We've actually been speaking extensively about all of them so that we can concentrate and fix our minds on these items because of their direct connection to Krishna. They're often called tadiya, that which is in relationship to Krishna. We're not like the impersonalists who, through their meditation, attempt to free their minds of all thoughts in an attempt to, eventually merge into the Brahman. No, we fill our minds with all things connected to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28 says, and I quote here, the devotee should concentrate on the nice garland on the neck of the Lord, which is always surrounded by bumblebees with their nice buzzing sound. And one should meditate upon the pearl necklace on the Lord's neck, which is considered to represent the pure living entities who are always engaged in his service. In this regard, there are actually many such items for our meditation. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.302, our beloved Sri Rupa Goswami gives a summary list of things which he says can help to awaken our love for the Lord. Smitanga Shora Bhevamsha Shringa Nupura Kam Bhava Padanka Sheta Tulashi Bhaktatad Vashara Dhaya. He writes, Krishna's smile, the fragrance of his transcendental body, his flute, bugle, ankle bells, and conch shell, the marks on his feet, his place of residence, his favorite plant, tulsi, his devotees, and the observance of fasts and vows connected to his devotion, all awaken the symptoms of ecstatic love. Srila Rupa Goswami. Now, out of all of those, I have chosen today to speak about Krishna's ankle bells. Krishna's ankle bells. Because, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ansha 1748, they are amongst the most important items connected to Krishna. E Shabda Amrita Chari Yarahaya Bhagya Bhari Se Karne Iha Kare Pana, Kaviraj Goswami writes, only the most fortunate can hear these four nectarian sounds: Krishna's words, the tinkling of his ankle bells and bangles, his voice, and the vibration of his flute. If one does not hear these sounds, his ears are as useless as small conch shells with holes. Wow. Actually, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antilila 1743, goes so far as to say that once having heard the sweet sound of Krishna's ankle bells, one cannot tolerate hearing anything else. Having once heard the sweet sound of Krishna's ankle bells, one cannot tolerate hearing anything else. Nupura kinkini dhvani hamshasa rasa jini kan kana dhvani chatake lajhaya. The tinkling of Krishna's ankle bells surpasses the songs of even the swan and crane, and the sound of his bangles puts the singing of the chataka bird to shame. Having allowed these sounds to enter the ears even once, one cannot tolerate hearing anything else. Having allowed these sounds to enter the ears even once, one cannot tolerate hearing anything else. And I was thinking that, while I read, that proof that Krishna's ankle bells are instrumental in Krishna's most confidential pastimes is stated again in Nectar of Devotion, because Prabhupada gave us everything, as follows. A certain gopi once stated to her friend, "My dear friend, when I heard the sound of the leg bells of Sri Krishna, I immediately started to go out of the house to see him. But most regrettably, my superiors were present just before me at that time, and I could not go out." So here's a Brajabasi, the purest of all devotees, and she heard Krishna's ankle bells, and it just stimulated her love for Krishna. She tried to go out of the house, but she couldn't. So Krishna's ankle bells stand out as particularly important in his leelas, in his pastimes. In Shastra, his two ankle bells are referred to as Hamsa Ganjana. That's what they're called. Hamsa Ganjana. It's said that the tinkling sounds of these ornaments enchant the deer that are the minds of the deer-eyed gopis. The tinkling sounds of these ornaments enchant the deer that are the minds of the deer-eyed gopis. Again, nectar of devotion. So ankle bells are very important in Krishna's tadiya, in his paraphernalia. Of course, ultimately, all of Krishna's paraphernalia are important. And just hearing the names of Krishna's paraphernalia is enough to wake us up from our sleeping condition. For example, Krishna's two armlets are called Rangada. The two bracelets that he wears are called Shobhana. The signet ring he wears is called Ratna Mukhi. Such sweet sounds. His yellow garments are called Nigamashobhana. Nigamashobhana. Krishna's pearl necklace, I discovered, is called Taravali. And his jeweled necklace is called Tadit Prabha. You're dressing Krishna in the spiritual world, you say, "Please hand me the Tadit Prabha." The locket he wears on his chest is called Hridaya Modana. And I was reading that within it is a picture of his beloved, Srimati Radharani. Krishna's jewel, very famous jewel, is called, of course, Kaustubha. And in the Kaliya lake, the wives of the Kaliya serpent gave this jewel to the Lord with their own hands. That's where he got it, the Kaustubha jewel. Krishna's favorite shark-shaped earrings are called Ratira Gadi Daivata. And his crown is called Ratnapara. And his crest jewel is called Chamara Damari. Be a nice name for someone, Chamara Damari. Krishna's peacock feather crown is called Navaratna Vidhamba. Navaratna Vidhamba. And his Gunja necklace, he wears those favorite seeds here in Vrindavan. The Gunja necklace is called Ragavali. And his tilak marking is called Drishta Mohana. Drishta Mohana. And Krishna's garland of forest flowers and leaves, which actually extend, which are of 5 colors and extend down to his feet, is called Vaijayanti. Vaijayanti. And it's ever fresh. Now, we should also include Krishna's beloved, the eternal consort, Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani's tilak, I was reading, is called Shmara Yantra. Shmara Yantra. Her jeweled necklace is called Hari Mohana. Her jeweled earrings are called Rochana, and the pearl decorating her nose is called Prabhakari. Prabhakari. And the locket which contains a picture of Krishna that she wears is called Madana. And her Shaimantaka jewel is known, well, that's the name, but it also has another name, Shankachuda Shiromani. Shankachuda Shiromani. That jewel she wears. And the auspicious jewel that she wears around her neck is called Pushpavan. Pushpavan. Because it's described, because it eclipses the simultaneous rising of the sun and moon with its splendor. It eclipses that. Rising, simultaneous rising of the sun and the moon. It's so beautiful. It eclipses that with its splendor. Radharani's anklets are called Chata Karava. Chata Karava. It's described because their tinkling sounds resemble the warbling of Chataka birds. Remember we gave a class on the Chataka birds. Her bracelets are called Manikarvura. Manikarvura. Such a beautiful sound. Manikarvura. And her signet ring, Krishna has one, she has one, is called Vipaksha Mardini. Vipaksha Mardini. And she wears a sash. Her sash is called Kanchani Chitrangi. Kanchana Chitrangi. And her ankle bells, she also wears ankle bells, which describe stun Lord Krishna with their tinkling sounds, are called Ratna Gopura. Ratna Gopura. Srimati Radharani's garments are called Meghambhara. Meghambhara. It's described her upper garment is red like a ruby, and it's the favorite of Krishna. And Radharani's lower garment is the color of a blue cloud, and that's her favorite, because blue reminds her of Krishna. Radharani has a jeweled mirror. It's called Sudam Sudarpa Arana. Shudam Shudarpa Arana, which means that which removes Harana, the moon's Shudam Shu pride, Dharapa. A few more. Her golden stick for applying mascara is called Narmada. She has a jeweled comb, a jeweled comb, because a lot of intricate words here. Her jeweled comb is called Svastida. 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 And her private flower garden, she has a private flower garden, it's called Kandar Pakuhali. Kandar Pakuhali. Wow. So much nectarian details. Love is in the details. So there you go. You can meditate on those. Just hearing those sounds brings joy to the heart of even an aspiring devotee. But back to the ankle bells. Krishna's ankle bells, that's the subject today. So just to stress again how important they are, I'd actually like to share a pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Everything Prabhupada did on this earth planet was a pastime. I remember when Srila Prabhupada installed our beloved Shri Shri Radha Paris Ishvara in our Paris temple in France in 1973. And we were all there. It was, you could say, packed up tight. Prabhupada would use that term sometimes when many devotees are in a room. It wasn't a big temple room, but we were all packed up tight. And after the bathing ceremony, where, the Abhishek, where we install the deities and chant the mantras, etc., after the bathing ceremony, after the installation, Prabhupada decided to go for a short walk with some of his disciples, while the pujaris dressed beautiful Radha and Krishna for the first time behind the curtain on the altar. So I wasn't present on that walk. I stayed back and was helping, in some small ways. But when he came back from the walk, I was standing there and I saw that when the curtain opened, Srila Prabhupada stood looking at the deities for a very long time. He was just staring at them. It was mystical for a long time. And the kirtan was roaring the kirtan. So then Prabhupada turned and he walked across the temple room, through the temple room, to his very beautiful Vyasasan. And as he was passing by, all of us could see there were tears streaming down his face. And then, as he sat on the Vyasasan, he used the edge of his dhoti to dry his eyes. And then he started this lecture by saying the following. I'll always remember. He said, meditation on the Lord begins from his lotus feet. Therefore, I am inquiring, why are there no ankle bells on the deity's feet? Meditation on the Lord, he said, begins from his lotus feet. Therefore, I am inquiring, why are there no ankle bells on the deity's feet, on Radha and Krishna's feet? To show the importance of ankle bells in Krishna's pastimes, His Archa Vigraha, his deity form, that's the pastime. He comes to the earth and he remains here and as the Archa Vigraha. Prabhupada said Archa Vigraha means the mercy incarnation of the Lord. Krishna comes and Krishna goes, but his deity form, in his deity form, he stays. So when Prabhupada said that about the ankle bells, that had a profound effect on all of us, for we realized how in his love for the Lord, Prabhupada was so attentive to all details. Again, love is in the details. So a nice pastime, ankle bells, modern day pastime of ankle bells. So I actually remember that moment each time I see the Lord's lotus feet when I visit an ISKCON temple or any temple in India. When I see the feet, that what Prabhupada said comes right back to my mind, to my heart. Now, in preparing this lecture, I came across a beautiful part of Krishna's Govardhan Leela, that pastime, where Krishna's ankle bells played a very prominent role. And that is that as Krishna was holding up Giriraj to protect all the inhabitants from the fearful torrents of rain released by Indra, the king of heaven, the residents of Braj stood transfixed upon gazing upon his transcendental form, upon Krishna's transcendental form, holding up Giriraj. And it's so nice, so sweet. At one point, one of the Brajabasis broke the silence because they were just gazing, transfixed by Krishna's beautiful form, holding up Govardhan Hill. This Brajabasi, he broke the silence saying the following: "Look, since Krishna stands motionless, his ankle bells have become silent like dumb persons. The sound of these ornaments crushes all pride, solves all problems, and diffuses all dangers. Although awake, these anklets appear to be a pair of white swans sleeping before a host of blue lotus flowers. These ankle bells must now be absorbed like self-realized yogis in silent meditation upon Krishna's lotus feet. But we did see them move slightly, their meditation broken, as Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Hearing that soft tinkling sound, the demigods came to praise and worship Krishna's anklets, but the bells again became motionless and fell silent, embarrassed by all the attention." Wow. Why read or hear anything else? And again, this focuses our mind on the Lord. His paraphernalia focuses our mind on the Lord, which is intimately connected to Him. And by hearing again and again and again, hopefully this will awaken that dormant love we have for the divine couple. Shravanam Kirtanam brings Krishna Smaranam. Hare Krishna. So at this point, I'd like to share with you a beautiful pastime regarding Srimati Radharani's ankle bells. So, one time in Sri Vrindavan Dham, Radha and Krishna made a plan to meet at Surabhikund, at Govardhan Hill, near Govardhan Hill. Many of you have seen that Surabhikund when you do parikrama around Giriraj. Now, to avoid attracting attention, the plan was that Krishna would come alone from the south, and Sri Radha, with one maidservant, so as not to attract too much attention, would come from the north, and they would meet at Surabhikund. This was all planned in the morning by Mother Purnamasi and Vrinda Devi, who planned all the day's activities in Vrindavan every morning. Now, according to the Acharyas, Krishna arrived at the appointed time, but Radhika was not there. So he thought, never mind, ladies are often late. But as time went on, it turned out that Radha was very late. Very late. And at first Krishna was a little impatient, but as time went by, he became concerned, how would you say, for Radharani's safety. For a rumor, a vicious rumor had reached Krishna that Kamsa had heard of Radharani's breathtaking beauty, her breathtaking beauty, and had been making plans to kidnap her and take her to Mathura. So Krishna thought, I cannot wait any longer. I must look for my Radha. And so he set out in the northern direction. However, Radharani was not actually late because of Kamsa or any danger, the Shastras say. Rather, she had taken a detour through the forest of Vilasavana, the forest of pastimes. She'd taken a deviation through the forest of Vilasavana. Why? To collect some flowers for Krishna. And while doing so, she had lost one of her ankle bells off one of her feet, her lotus feet. And after searching everywhere in Vilasavana, she said to her friend, I'm sure I lost it somewhere here, somewhere amongst these trees and bushes, but where I do not know. Where I do not know. So now we know Radha's a queen, and therefore she has many ankle bells. Many ankle bells. And she wouldn't ordinarily feel the loss of one, but she was particularly fond of this ankle bell because Krishna had given it to her at a very special moment. I was reading, it was a delicate golden chain with studded jewels and had tiny golden bells hanging from it. So Radha was very determined to find that anklet. And at one point, she called out to it by name. I remember the name, we were reading the name of her ankle bells. She called out, Ratna Gopura, oh Ratna Gopura, where are you? But she heard no reply. How can ankle bells reply? Well, once again, everything in Sri Vrindavan Dham is fully conscious and facilitating the Madhurya Leela of Radha and Krishna. She called out to her, Ratna Gopura, where are you? But there was no reply. So, just at that moment, Krishna happened to be walking along a road nearby, and as he passed Vilasavan, he heard a woman's voice coming from the forest. Ratna Gopura, where are you? So he thought, I think that must be Radharani's voice. And he turned and he ran into the forest, where he found Shri Radha and her maidservant, intensely searching the woods. It's described their eyes fixed on the ground. Just with your mind's eye, just think like that. Their eyes were fixed to the ground, looking for that anklet. In fact, Srimati Radharani was so absorbed in her search that she didn't notice Krishna until she came upon his two bluish feet. And at that point, she looked up and said happily, Oh Shyam, I'm so happy you've come. So Krishna said, My dear Radha, what are you searching for? So she answered, My dear one, I've lost one of my favorite ankle bells, the one that you gave me at that special time, and I'm determined to find it. So Krishna, he looked left and he looked right, and then he looked back at Radha and he said, It doesn't seem to be here. So let's go now to Surabhi Kund as we planned. Later, we'll have another anklet made to replace this lost one. But Radharani wasn't going to go for that idea. She replied, Absolutely not, Krishna. I will not leave my dear anklet alone in these woods, because it's perfectly conscious. I will not leave my dear anklet alone in these woods. So Krishna tried again. But Radha, let's look for it another time. But when Radharani frowned, Krishna got nervous. He didn't want her to go into man, into anger. So he surrendered and he said, Okay, I'll help you find it. So it's very sweet. He took Shri Radha's hand and side by side, they searched the forest floor. They looked under bushes and under trees and in the Chintamani dust of Vrindavan. I can imagine around the roots of trees, but with no success. They simply could not find that anklet. So Shri Radha eventually let go of Krishna's hand, and pointing she said, some distance away, she said, "You look in that flower garden over by the lake." And Krishna's like, "What? Way over there?" And Radha said, "I'll look here with my maidservant. And together we'll search the path also one more time." But Krishna was getting really impatient. He wanted this, how could you say, this lost ankle bell situation to come to a conclusion. So while he was searching this flower garden, which he couldn't imagine, it's like so far away, but she was so determined, while he was searching this flower garland by a lake called Vilasakund, the beautiful name, by Vilasakund, he came upon a beautiful desire vine. Now we've heard of desire trees, but we often hear how the trees also have vines going around them, producing beautiful fruits and flowers, etc. So he came upon a desire vine. It means like a kalpavriksha tree. You can pray for anything you want to serve Radha and Krishna. Apparently, you can also make the same request to desire vines. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. And this desire vine had many multicolored flowers on it. And it was extremely aromatic, the Shastras say. Extremely aromatic. So he cut off a piece of that vine, and what did he do? He made it into a flower anklet. A flower anklet. Like sometimes we see people, they wear flower crowns. So he made a flower anklet. Then he called out, "Hey Radharani, my beloved, look at this." And he ran over to where Radharani was, and he bowed down to her sacred lotus feet, and he tied it around her ankle. Now Sri Radha looked down, expecting to see her favorite anklet, but instead she saw a floral substitute, the best way I can put it, a floral substitute. And she was completely what? Unimpressed. Completely unimpressed. So she chastised Krishna, Radharani. She chastised Krishna, saying, "Why don't you look for my precious jewelry instead of playing with flowers?" Krishna, why did you look for my precious jewelry instead of playing with flowers? So Krishna went back to the lake where she told him to look, in that area. And he thought, she's so absorbed in that anklet. The entire day is going to be lost. I have to think of a better plan. So Krishna, the master of all mystic powers, he took his flute, his vamsi, from his belt, and he dug the ground with it. He dug the ground with his flute. And as he did so, he prayed. Hare Krishna. He prayed, "My dear Mother Earth, please return my beloved's lost ankle bells at once." Kind of a prayer and kind of a demand. And amazingly, as Krishna said this, the hole he had dug with his flute suddenly became filled with limitless, unlimited amounts of ankle bell bracelets. Just try to imagine that. Some of which were identical to the one Radharani had lost. And other ankle bracelets, anklets, were even more beautiful and more opulent. So now Krishna called out, "Hey Radhe! Hey Radhe! Hey Radhe! I found it! I found it, the anklet. It's over here." So immediately, Sri Radha and her friend rushed over to where Krishna was kneeling. And when they looked at the ground, both of their mouths dropped open. One acharya describes the scene, and I quote that illustrious acharya. "As a greedy king would revel in his treasure chest of royal jewels, Krishna was running his fingers through heaps of ankle bells in the ground, each one more dazzling and ornate than the one before." And Sri Radha, Vrindavaneshwari, she was speechless. And so Krishna, not willing to take any risks, he dropped all the anklets in his hands, that were in his hands, onto the ground, and he picked up one that perfectly matched Radha's lost ankle bracelet. He had so many. He dropped them all, then there's the one that resembles the one she lost perfectly. Then he said loudly, "This is it. Here it is." So Radha, she took the ankle bells from Krishna's hand, and she asked, "Krishna, where did all the other ones come from?" Like, we were looking for one, now there's like millions. So Krishna smiled, and he replied something wonderful. He said, "My dear Radha, by the constant touch of your lotus foot, the lost anklet became a Chintamani gem that transformed the earth it touched into many millions of ankle bells. Many millions of ankle bells." Then he said in a joking way, "Dearest, if you don't put it on at once, then the whole of Vrindavan will be paved with ankle bells. Hurry up." So Radharani, how's it described? Radharani, she smiled for the first time that day and gracefully put her lotus foot forward and said, "Then you had better secure it on my foot yourself, Krishna, so it doesn't fall off again." Such sweet pastimes. So Krishna took the anklet from Radharani and he carefully fastened it around her ankle. It's described taking as much time as he possibly could. Now, some Vaishnavas say that many anklets with tiny golden bells can still be found on the banks of that Vilas Sarovara, in that particular forest, at Vilasvan. But they also say that such anklets can only be found by those who have unflinching and deep faith in the divine couple. Remnants of all those beautiful golden ankle bells are still there, but one has to have unflinching and deep faith in the divine couple to find them. And how to achieve that faith and love? The sadhus say, and I quote them, "All things lost are easily found in Vilasvana. There, even souls who have lost their eternal identities as servants of Krishna can find them by the grace of this forest and the holy names of Krishna." Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. By chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, we can discover one day what is our eternal identity as the servants of Radha and Krishna. And then one day join them in the spiritual world in that eternal identity as their servants in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So we're finished today, trying to finish. We're finished today with a beautiful prayer by Sri Rupa Goswami in his book Shtavamala. This is 625, short but very sweet and pertinent. And I quote, "If one decorates his body with the dust from Srimati Radharani's lotus feet, then it will be very easy for him to attain Lord Giridhari. I congratulate such a great soul who takes shelter of Radhika's lotus feet, and I say to him, well done, bravo, excellent." I'm going to say that one more time. Rupa Goswami is writing, "If one decorates his body with the dust from the feet of Srimati Radharani, then it will be very easy for him to attain Lord Giridhari. I congratulate such a great soul who takes shelter of Radhika's lotus feet, and I say to him, well done, bravo, excellent." Hare Krishna. We'll finish there with those words of Srila Rupa Goswami ringing within our hearts. Thank you, Prabhus. We'll be back on next Friday. I'm back in Vrindavan again, so I'll have time for some research. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani ki, her ankle bells ki, Krishna's ankle bells ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Shyam. Glories to Shri. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. I was just thinking this morning, we've been giving this series of lectures for 4 years now, almost to the day, 4 years. Very nectarian service. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pastata Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, once again, we're continuing with our mini-series on stimulation for ecstatic love, based on Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, chapter 26. Studying the material, it's possible we have a few more lectures in this series, and then we'll move on to something else. For that, I'm thinking of doing a 10-part series on the Gopal deity that Madhavendra Puri found on Govardhan Hill 500 years ago, known now as Srinathji, and presently worshipped in Nathdwar in Rajasthan, a very famous deity. Anyway, today I would like to discuss Krishna's Bigul. Krishna's Bigul. What is that? It's his buffalo horn in English. His buffalo horn. And like all the items we've spoken about in this series, Krishna's buffalo horn plays a significant role in his Braj Leela. In my research, I learned that Lord Shiva also has a buffalo horn, which plays an important role in his pastimes, but more about that later in the class. So according to the dictates of Natya Shastra, the scripture of dramaturgy by the illustrious sage Bharat Muni, Krishna's buffalo horn is instrumental, very important in vachik, meaning a pastime that is performed using dialogue, singing, poetry, etc. Natya Shastra is a compendium of the performing arts, like drama, music, dance. Some scholars poetically, and I say poetically, refer to it as the fifth Veda, saying it takes words from the Rig Veda, music from the Samveda, gestures from the Yajur Veda, and emotions from the Atharva Veda. And I was reading that the dramas of our beloved Srila Rupa Goswami, like Vidagna Madhava and Lalita Madhava, he based those on this particular ancient scripture. Now in this Natya Shastra, Bharat Muni describes 4 different types of nataka, meaning dramatic actions. Like in a theater, there's many dramatic actions. And the first one he describes is called angig, which means performing a pastime with the expressions of the body, like bodily movement. And the second is vachik, again vachik, means performing the pastime with the help of dialogue and singing and poetry, etc. The third, which is discussed, is aharya. It means wearing different colorful clothes or costumes, as well as different paraphernalia like holding a flute or a bow or a sword, etc. Discusses that. And the fourth is sattvika, meaning how to perform drama with emotion. With emotion. We would say with bhav, with love. So regarding vachik, we'll just discuss one here. Regarding vachik, performing pastimes with dialogue, singing, and poetry, which are all done with one's mouth, we see that Krishna attracts his devotees by his sweet words and by mesmerizing them by his sweet talking. So he's employing this technique. course, it's all natural for him. But unlike mortal beings, Krishna can also invoke very deep transcendental devotional sentiments by using his mouth to play musical instruments. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:21, there's a summary to that chapter in the beginning where we hear the following. The gopis declared, to see Lord Krishna playing his flute while taking the cows to pasture is the highest perfection for the eyes. Hearing the song of Krishna's flute, the peacocks dance, and all other creatures become stunned when they see them. The ears of the cows stand on end as they drink the nectar of his flute song, and their calves simply stand stunned. The milk they have been drinking from their mothers' udders still in their mouths. So there's an example, Krishna. But another instrument that Krishna plays from his mouth, which also produces profound spiritual emotions in the hearts of those who hear it, is the beagle, or again, the buffalo horn. The buffalo horn. Before doing this research, I knew nothing about Krishna's buffalo horn, but it's really interesting, like all the items that stimulate ecstatic love. So this beagle, this buffalo horn, is known by different names, such as Shringi, Bagulu, and Bhaja. And the personal name of Krishna's buffalo horn is Mandagosha. His buffalo horn is Mandagosha. Now, Nectar of Devotion describes that this Mandagosha, it's always highly polished. Krishna's bugle horn is highly polished. It's circled with gold bands, and in the middle of his buffalo horn, there's a hole. There's a hole. Now, Krishna blows a buffalo horn. He plays a flute, but he blows a buffalo horn in Vrindavan in several specific ways. This is the details. The love is in the details. You can't play a buffalo horn like flute. So there's one hole, and he blows it in specific ways. One is for calling his cows to come back from grazing and come back to the Goshala in Nandagram in the evening time. Secondly, I was reading, he uses his buffalo horn to call for lost cows. Because, we heard in the past times we often
Govinda Adi Purusha Tamaham Govinda Tamaham Venu Bhagavatam Samachita Buddha Sundarama Anganjar Bhakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govinda Nadi Purusha Tamaham Bhajati Andani Ashari Dhira Damodara Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Jagati Ananda Chitaya Sadhu Jana Vigrahasya Govinda Adi Purusha Tamaham Bhajati Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Vajabhakata Vatsala Sri Gaura Hari Sri Gaura Hari Sahi Goshta Bihari Nanda Jasomati Chita Hari Dhira Damodara Ishaye Kana Bhova Mandire Bashi Karaha Bojana Nandirani Deshi Bashi Giri Baradari Baladeva Saha Sokha Vaise Sari Sari Shukta Shakhari Vaji Lalita Kushmanda Dalidana Dugda Tumi Dadi Mocha Kanda Mudabora Mash Boda Rotika Britana Chaskuli Pistaka Kir Kuli Payasana Kapura Amrita Keli Ramba Kirashara Amrita Rasalama Dvadasha Pakora Luci Sinisar Puri Ladura Sabali Bhojana Korena Krishna Hoye Kutuhali Radhikara Pakayana Bibida Byanjana Paramayanande Krishna Korena Bhojana Chale Bale Ladu Kai Sri Madhu Mangala Bagala Bajayara Deya Hari Bolo Radhikari Gani Hari Nayane Rakone Tripta Hoye Kai Krishna Jasoda Bhavani Bhojanande Priya Krishna Subhasita Bari Sabe Mukha Prakaloy Kore Sari Sari Asta Mukha Prakaliya Jata Sakagane Anande Vishrama Kore Baladeva Sane Jambula Rasalane Kambula Masala Tahake Krishna Chandra Sukhe Nidradela Vishalaka Shiki Pucha Chamara Dulaya Apurva Saya Krishna Sukhe Nirayaya Yasomati Anga Priye Danishtaya Nito Sri Krishna Prasad Radha Punje Hoye Prito भिखारी साकी गाना अवशेष पाया मने मने सुखे राधा कृष्ण गुण गाया हरि लीला एकमात्र जहाँ प्रमोदा भोगारती गाय ठाकुर भक्ति विनोदा भक्त वत्सल श्री गौर हरि भक्त वत्सल श्री गौर हरि श्री गौर हरि सहि गोष्ठ बिहारी श्री गौर हरि सहि गोष्ठ बिहारी नंद जसोमती चित हरि नंद जसोमती